Maintenance costs, which I've touched on briefly, much higher with a client-server system. So every few years you have to replace that server. In addition to every time the more patience you put on that server, the slower the system gets. So you'll need to replace that server. Again, a server is $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 depending on how big your practice is, and you're going to want to buy the best. The network downtime and repair. Everybody knows if you have a network in your office or at home, it always goes down at some point in time, and nobody in your office, certainly not you, on average, the average doctor is not going to have the time or the know-how to repair a network in their office, and when that happens, you're out of business. You have to update your hardware, and when you update that hardware, you have to update the software, so you actually have to reload that software on every piece of new hardware you get, rather than just logging into a system on any piece of new hardware you get. The new hardware you do get has to be a little bit more sophisticated. It has to have a little bit more computing power since you're actually doing computations and things on that computer. Software updates are needed and they interrupt your staff. So a lot of times client-server systems in the fine print tell you you're going to need to upgrade your software, and they forget to tell you that that's $700, $800 a year just to upgrade the software. Or they'll tell you don't have to upgrade the software and pay that fee to upgrade the software. But as you know, ICD-10, the new compliance certifications, all those things are an ongoing process. And to get those upgrades, you're going to have to upgrade your software and pay the fee. And you can guarantee that every year there's going to be a new upgrade, whether it's by government mandate, for HIPAA compliance, for coding changes. There's always going to be something we can guarantee almost every year where you're going to have to upgrade that software. Now, when you upgrade the software, you have to upgrade your server and every computer that logs into that server. Database configuration. You get a new server, you start the whole process over. You get the new server, you have to configure that database, you have to network all the computers, you have to load the software on it, and then you're starting from scratch. So all of those are additional costs that are hidden costs that people don't realize that are built into the pricing structure of a client-server system. With a web-based system, again, you don't need a server. So all of that cost and time and energy to do those things, download the updates and having your staff do that, restore your data when you get a new server, and hopefully you're backed up the data properly, all that goes away. There's no network required. So sometimes we have had clients that, if you think about Hurricane Sandy, that went through some of the offices in New Jersey and totally wiped them out. Client-server systems lost their server and all their data. Web-based systems like ours had their data backed up and were up and running as soon as they can get a new computer. They're up and running. They can log on, get a laptop, use the web-based access from their iPhone, which is available on every wireless phone nowadays. You can actually use that as your internet connection, and they could literally be up and running overnight and use the same exact system with all the data restored instantly. Again, you don't need any new hardware over the lifespan of your practice. If you want to upgrade it, you can, but for the most part, the computing power to get on the internet is going to be pretty much the same. If it's not exactly the same, it's going to be much longer than with the hardware you're going to need for a client-server system. Updates are in real time with no interruption. When our system, we have an update process, which I can get into more detail, but think of it this way. Tomorrow you walk into the office, the updated system, as soon as you log in, is there. If for some reason there's something that doesn't work with the update, or it's not exactly what you want, or you prefer the older version, there's always a backup login where you can log in and get the old system. But we do have a release process where we beta test things and work out as many of the bugs as we possibly can. Again, no database configuration, so you're not going to have the cost of buying the new server every few years, let alone configuring that database, configuring the network, etc. So again, the web-based system wins hands down.